Hello, everybody. I had it on the slide by mistake. How are you all? It's a lovely day and it's a lovely day to do a live. And I'm really looking forward to sharing some lovely feel-good stories from, of course, Catherine and William's visit to the Women's Institute. Oh, I've got something happening here. Sorry, I'm all a mess today. And also, I'm looking forward to sharing some revelations that I discovered out of Paul Burrell's book, which hasn't come out yet, but it's actually being serialized in the Daily Mail. I must admit that it is a bit hard to get revelations out of it because I think most of it might be made up at this stage. But there was one little snippet that rang true, and I think it will explain a lot. So I wanted to share that. Also, I am going to cover Harry's, really a failed visit. I can't get over how he would expect that any of those photo ops that he's done so far would impress anybody, would change anyone's point of view. It's just like, I'll go home and go back to Melodramacito. It ain't working, has. So I've got a fair sort of packed show. I just wanted to address something first up, and I want to make it very clear that when I did that interview with Tom Sykes, of course, there was overwhelmingly a lot of negative comments underneath that. And that was fine. I actually found them very interesting, and I thought and expected and thought that a lot of the points of view were valid, and I could understand people's points of view. Now, attacking the story and attacking the viewpoint is one thing, but when you attack the person, that makes me stand up for them. Because I have been attacked, so I know what it's like. And you should not be attacked just because you have a different perspective, a different viewpoint. Now, a lot of the people that I chat to on the show are actually, well, not a lot of the people, some have not actually been as nice off camera as they are on camera. Of course, I won't share who that is. But Tom Sykes was the complete opposite. He was very nice off camera. And I think I got, in the brief moment that we talked, I think I got a real understanding of the man. Now, I think that he's misguided. I think it's a career killer, and I wish he wouldn't do it. But he believes that he is presenting a balanced view. He believes that he is presenting the other side. Now, the other thing is when people say he's in Markle's camp, you're clearly not familiar with his work because he constantly calls out Meghan Markle all the time. His most recent article was about when she was using her children to, promote As Ever with Love. I think it was As Ever. And he called her out. He was one of the first ones to call out that about her putting them up on Instagram with the emojis, the whole bit. And then other newspapers in the Royal Rota actually used his article to call it out. So he is often calling out Meghan Markle, but he is a Harry lover. And I am very aware of that. And I am in complete disagreement with that. But do I think I should pile on him as a person? Do I think I should make out that he's public enemy number one? Should I make out that there's some nefarious plot that he's a part of? He's been a journalist for 15 years. He's reported on many different stories from many different angles. And he also printed his fair share of negative Harry stories after Harry first left. Okay, this is a fairly recent iteration. Now, it's pretty obvious that Harry and Meghan's team came over and they garnered a team of independent journalists, lots of them, not just Tom Sykes. They also got a few in the Royal Rota. They had meetings with everybody. Anyone that would have a meeting with them, they had. Now, obviously, Tom Sykes is covering Harry's trip. Now, again, I think it's ill-advised. I think it's a career killer. I think it's a pity because it's such a toxic brand, it's having an effect on his reputation and his brand. So I think I've made that very clear now. I don't agree with what he writes. I spoke out yesterday because I think that his attacks on William were completely unnecessary. If you're going to go Team Harry, you don't have to attack William. But I think he probably did that to get headlines and it worked, So he's on the other side of the debate to me. But when I read the hate that is underneath this live, not here in the chat, but underneath the live, I object to it because I object to bullying. So if you want to tell me why you don't agree with his viewpoints, go ahead. I'll even amplify them. But if you attack the man, no way. I will stand up against that. Hate bullying, hate bullies. That's why I don't like Meghan Markle. And I've had my fair share of it myself since that interview. Now, I will be doing interviews with people that you don't agree with. I will be doing interviews with people that, challenges our worldview. And I'm doing that very deliberately because I am sick of being stuck in a tribe. I want to address everything in an intelligent way, explore things from all angles, and then leave you to decide. And if you disagree with me, I'm totally cool with that. I read all of the disagreements, left them all up, and even shouted them out and thanked people for them. So I am not someone who, shuts down free disagreeing debate, but attack the view, not the person. If that's what this channel's about. Attack the view, not the person. And people have been attacking me, trying to pressure me and bully me and trying to make me, say something nasty about my guest or backtrack on it. When I was a young green YouTuber many years ago, I probably would have bowed to that. No way. Okay, so if you're trying to bully me, I suggest you tootle off because you're not going to get anywhere with me. Now on to happier news, which is William, Kath and Catherine at the Women's Institute at Sunningdale, which is a lovely name in Berkshire. And we have this beautiful, beautiful photograph. And I've got the one coming up where that William is actually looking at Catherine and he's just looking at her adoringly. It's just the best shot ever. So of course it was a big surprise, Catherine appearing. They had to get an extra cake fork handy because they didn't expect her to come. And I love, if you've seen the footage where she actually entered the room and there was this little gasp. There was this little gasp from people in the room, or more of a sort of an appreciative sound when she came in, and it was really, really lovely. And William was quoted as saying this, and I wanted to share this little quote because I think it was just brilliant. He just knocked this out of the park, this visit. It's 3 years since my grandmother died, he said. She was a big part of the Women's Institute. She used to talk about it a lot. This is the first time I've been and experienced the Women's Institute, so this is a huge honour for me. And of course, they love that. I mean, could you get any better? Also, the Queen really did love it, and she used to make sure that she would go to a meeting every January, apparently. And it was a big part of her life, a really, really big part of her life. I've heard said 80 years, so before she ascended to the throne, she was a part of it. Also, William said about, the brownies, because he loves the cake. There's Catherine actually talking to all the women, and look at them. They just think she's gorgeous. She's a star. She knows how to talk to everyone. This is them sitting down. Now, this was about the cake, and I believe Catherine chose a chocolate chip cake, and William chose an orange and Cointreau cake and a brownie, and there was a discussion about brownies, but there was a very funny thing that was said, which I'm going to share in a minute. But he also talked about his grandmother's love of racing, because it's quite near to Ascot Racecourse, evidently. And I didn't know the Queen had an iPad. She had an iPad, William said. And she used to use the iPad so that if she was away from home, she could actually see the foals being born of her racehorses. And he said that he wishes that, they'd won a few more times for her. But isn't that amazing that she's looking at the birth of the foals on her iPad? I just thought that was just the best story. And I could just imagine her sneaking away in the back of the car, on the way to an official function or something. I thought that was just lovely. Okay, now that's the shot I'm telling you about. That is the money shot. That's the one where William's looking at Catherine and just thinks she is absolutely divine. And she is. She is. She's holding forth. She's capturing the table, and the look of pride on his face is just wonderful. I like to think my husband looks like that at me sometimes, hopefully. I'll have to see if I can catch it actually in a photo. So this was lovely. This little thing, I had to share it with you. When asked if he could become a member of the Women's Institute, Hilary Fraser told the Prince, "No, not unless you put on a skirt." And the Prince replied, "Well, for a chocolate brownie, Hilary, you'll never know what I'll do." So that was just really funny. I thought that was cute. And the other thing that I thought was really good, I'm going to get on to that next, the Burrell book. The other thing that was really cute was when a member of the Women's Institute, Nina Derrick, said, asked if Prince Louis was a bit of a handful. And William nailed this. He completely turned the whole thing around because he was very aware that, the press could pick up on this. And he doesn't want Louis to be known as the handful, the rascal, the spare, the whole silly rubbish that hounded, their childhood. So he said this, Louis is a very good boy. That's what he said. And then he said, when asked if George was the more serious of the two, he acknowledged, well, yes, there's 5 years between them, and George knows how to behave in public, but at home it's a different story. So he's completely turned it on his head, and I think that's marvellous. I mean, that's the sort of, father that you want. He's thinking ahead, he's protecting his children, and I thought he was wise. I thought he was very wise. I was very, very impressed with that. I thought it was great. I'm going to say g'day, and put a few of your comments up. I'll put some negative comments up if I accidentally click on them. Sir Squirrel, I appreciate your content and channel. Thank you, Shauna. Well, thank you, Sir Squirrel. Phew. I thought it was going to be a really horrible one straight up because I've been getting a lot of those. But you know what? I listened to Brené Brown last night because I was going to go away and hide for a few weeks because I was so upset. And not upset with dissenting views, just upset because some of the comments were so incredibly hurtful. And I listened to Brené Brown, Into the Wilderness, and she said, no, stand up for what is right, stick to your principles, and if you're curious about something, then continue to be curious and continue to, expand your reach and your ideas. And that's exactly what this channel is all about. Hi, Koala Blues. Thank you so much. That's lovely. I'm sorry you didn't get the notification. I didn't get the notification. Okay. Oh, yes. Kathy Evans. Kathy Evans, I don't think you would have ever bowed to that. No. Well, I don't. But sometimes it's difficult, Kathy. It is difficult because I don't have much armor up with a lot of you people. I sort of give of my true self when I'm on. So I don't have a lot of armor. I'm not putting it on. Let's put it that way. All right. So let's get on to the Burrell book because this is quite fascinating, and I think it gave me an insight into Harry's willingness to believe Meghan. Of course, he was completely responsible. I'm not giving him a way out. I'm just saying this gave me a little bit of an insight. I have no sympathy for the man, no sympathy at all. You got to defend your family. Not backtracking. I am not backtracking at all. But this is the Royal Insider. The book hasn't come out yet. Like I said, it was serialized in the Daily Mail. And this interested me. Now, he said that he bumped into William and Harry at Kensington Palace in 2017. And I'm listening to that or reading that and I'm thinking, hang on, didn't you say that you would love to have a meeting with them both because you had things that you wanted to tell them? Wasn't that the story just after Megxit? And now he's saying that he did run into them at Kensington Palace in 2017? That's why it's a little off, but I'll share what he said anyway, because you can, of course, decide for yourself. So he said he bumped into them and he claims that William and Harry asked him what does he think was the sort of the ultimate division between their father and Diana. Now, I don't know why they would be asking Paul Burrell. I know that they were both very cross about his book, The Royal Duty. As a book reviewer, I will say probably his only book worth reading, I think, is A Royal Duty, although I haven't read this one yet, but from what I'm gathering, I think A Royal Duty had real moments of real things happening. It had truth in it in parts, but I think it was his best book because I think it was a lot more believable and it gave a great insight to, what happened with all the shenanigans with his court case and after Diana's death and everything. It was quite insightful. This one, I'm not so sure. So anyway, he claims that they asked him that question. Okay, so I'm going to bring up the next slide. And this was the answer. Okay, so that's him saying that he ran into them. Now, he told them the story of just after Harry's birth, and he told them the story, he claims, of Charles walking in saying, oh, a redhead, right, which has been reported in lots of books, hasn't it? Okay, and this is what he claims Diana told him, and the dialogue does not ring true to me, but I will share it. Now, this is what he claims Charles said. Well, at least I've got my heir and spare now, and I can return to Camilla. Well, I don't know. I don't think he'd be saying that to, the mother of his child that had just given birth. Do you? It just sort of speaks of overwhelming cruelty. It just seems a bit far-fetched to me. And then Diana evidently, supposedly, told Paul Burrell, I cried myself to sleep that night knowing that my marriage was over. Well, maybe she did tell him that. I gave him 4 good years and he was gone. And for the rest of the time, I had to pretend and put a facade on for the world. So think about it. This is Paul Burrell saying this, supposedly, to William and Harry, right? Now, evidently, it went over like a lead balloon with Harry. I thought I put the slide up, but I didn't. I'll have to read it to you. Harry stared straight at me, poker-faced. He couldn't believe what I was telling him. Actually, I don't really blame him. I wonder if William believed it. I don't think he would have believed it. I was in tears. So Paul Burrell was in tears under Harry's steely gaze, but he never flinched. And then he said, Harry, it's the truth. I wouldn't tell you that unless it's exactly what your mother told me. Okay, so sort of trying to get out of it, trying to sort of say that's what your mother told me. I don't know if it's true. I'm just relaying the message. You're old enough to know that now. And then this kicker. This happened just before Harry became engaged to Meghan. Okay, I think that powered him and put fuel in his tanks to go forward with everything that he felt. So there's a few different takes on this. My first initial take was, if true, if he really did say this to Harry and William in 2017 in Kensington Palace, well, then he's dripping poison into the boys' ears, isn't he? And what possible benefit to them would that be? Because if someone asked me that question, I would say, look, I really don't know what goes on between two people. Who can really tell? Only they know what really goes on. But I will tell you this, boys, they loved each other very much when they had you. That's what I would have left them with. I would have left them to walk off happy, knowing that their parents loved each other very much when they had you. Any kind, reasonable person here would say that, wouldn't they? You would. I know you would. But he didn't. He supposedly admits in this book that he dripped poison into their ears. And I'm thinking, well, Paul Burrell, can you be blamed for the fact that Harry is so resentful, angry, paranoid, and been relentlessly attacking his family ever since? Because that was a very poisonous thing to drip into his ear. Now, I'm sure that Harry would have heard that because, like I said, I've seen it appear in other books. But the fact that Burrell sort of confirmed it, I think that was cruel. If indeed any of this is true. But I thought I would share it with you because, you can make up your own mind about the whole sordid mess yourself. Okay, now I am going to go on a bit more with this. Oh my goodness me. It is just appalling, really, how he thinks that this could change the public narrative, the public personal point of view. It's so off-putting to use children in this way. It's quite awful. And it was so obviously a photo op. And that's what, did you see actually the photograph of Catherine and William at the Women's Institute, that you had to hunt for them in the group shot that they did for all the women there that no doubt will proudly go up on the wall? They stood right at the back. And you actually had to hunt. Where's Catherine? Where's Catherine? Where's William? Where's William? They didn't make themselves the story. They made the Women's Institute the story. Now, Harry had an opportunity to make Wellchild the story, but that stupid, posed sword fight with that poor little girl with the balloons, he did that for the cameras and then he walked off. That was it. Photo op. Now, you just can't imagine that William, for example, if he was, visiting Wellchild, you cannot imagine that he would do something so deliberately tabloid worthy, something that's so deliberately going to be captured and spread all around the world, And it worked. I mean, the Times even reported on it. Now, what they've done, and yes, Tom Sykes is one of them, which, crazy Tom, get out while you can, There's him and other independent journalists going around, and yes, all favourable Harry stories. I am under no illusion about that. And then what's happening is the Times picked it up. So they're sort of doing a little bit what William and Catherine are doing, where they have their own people cover their outings and things, and then the Royal Rota picks up those stories and reports on them. So they're sort of using the same model, but I don't get the impression that Catherine and William dictate exactly what the story has to be. Very much this is a PR propaganda campaign, and it is, being driven out. And of course, anyone with a brain is aware of it, and I completely reject it. Don't believe in any of it myself. I think it's quite laughable. I think it's really not worth the effort, because do you think anyone's going to fall for any of this rubbish? No, they're not. They're not going to fall for it, not unless they're rather stupid. So, yeah. So my initial reaction to this photograph was, and I put it up on my Substack, was that we don't believe him. We don't believe him. That was my first reaction, because I thought, I'm just going to do a reaction without trying to, say anything pleasing or trying to sort of push my own agenda. I'm just going to say a genuine reaction. I looked at this image today, and that was my first reaction. I didn't feel any negative emotions other than a sort of detached curiosity. And that was true. Harry has made me furious, as you know, like the VJ Day stunt where I've been reduced to furious tears, and he's really sort of affected me emotionally a lot of times, and I'm sure he will again. But on this occasion, it was so lame. I didn't feel that. I just felt like, oh, really? Really? You're crazy. This photo op screams all for the cameras, and there's no royal stardust. What do you think? I'd be interested to hear your comments. We've seen it all before. No one's buying it. Give it up, Harry. Quietly go home to Melodramacito. Very much no royal stardust at all. And I think I heard a comment, I can't remember where I read it, but someone was saying that Harry was wounded because someone from some charity, it might have been it was to do with Santa Bali, I think, Sophie Chandorka, intimated that people wanted real royals if they're going to donate to a charity. Yeah, I think it was her. And he was very offended, that she would dare to say that he wasn't a real royal. But that is how people feel. They feel that he's an ex-royal. They feel that he's irrelevant. They feel that he's out of the loop. They feel that there is definitely no real royal connection left there. And I think we've got over the hump now. I think that is pretty much how everyone feels. I've been very interested to see polls popping up, now he's in the country, and overwhelmingly negative. A poll in the Telegraph found 79% of people just more or less said, look, give it up, we're not interested, go away. To polls saying, should King Charles meet him? It was overwhelmingly negative. No, that would be a big mistake. And, I think everyone knows it would be a mistake because it will be twisted. The meeting will be twisted and used for their purposes at a later date. So I'm going to share more of your comments right now. Going down. Naomi. Diana tried her best, but you can't always help your kids. That's true. You can't. I mean, and you don't know what your children are going to do. I mean, mine are a little bit older now, so I sort of think that I've got away with it and I'll be okay. But who knows? Who knows? You just don't know. You just got to do your best and then hope. Cross your fingers, don't you? Thank you, Shauna, for being your true self. Well, I can't really be anything else, Chris. It's a bit hard. But thank you. I appreciate the sentiment. I appreciate it. I don't want to be gutless. I never want to be gutless. That would be, not even worth being on YouTube if you're going to be gutless. Bridget M. I think it's hilarious that the final thought in his first two books are pretty much, that's all I have to say about that. Oh, yes, Bridget, great take. Yes, it just does seem like a bit of a ka-ching effort. I have ordered it because you never know, there could be something in there that correlates with something else that someone else says. And, can be backed up and therefore is an insight, a new insight. Now, I am not defending Tom Sykes because he's no great friend of mine. He was just a guest, right? But his piece on Queen Elizabeth II's death was excellent. It just reported the facts. There was a fight between Harry and William. There was a real distaste from everyone, understandably, that they didn't want Meghan there. He didn't call that out. He just reported the facts. And there was a lot of new details about sort of like the minutes and hours after the death, and the fact that William and Charles very much pointedly went off, and he didn't criticise it, went off to have a private dinner in Burrell. And one thing that I found really amusing was that Harry was left with Prince Andrew with Uncle Andy. Oh, what a punishment. Mind you, Edward and Sophie had to put up with Harry, so that's a punishment for them. I mean, how cruel to leave them behind. I would have plucked out Princess Anne, Edward and Sophie and taken them off to Burrell and left Andrew and Harry alone for the dinner. That's what I would have done. I mean, that just would have been fairer and would have made more sense. What do you reckon? Going to see a few more comments from you. And this is from Smith's Girl 12. That is what journalists are supposed to do, listen to both sides, fact find, investigate, and it's refreshing. Thank you. Well, I guess I'm not really very good or fair, though, because I'm never going to change my opinion about Harry. I just never am. And I'm never going to change my opinion about Meghan Markle. I am absolutely 100% biased when it comes to them. I'm 100% biased when it comes to Prince Andrew and also Sarah Ferguson. I'm a little disillusioned with King Charles III. I love Camilla. I think she's done a very good job under very difficult circumstances. I used to be rather anti-Diana. Now I have a little more sympathy. My views have changed a little bit in that direction. I prefer to, sort of concentrate on all the good work she did. So my feelings and thoughts change a little bit all the time. But I don't think I'm ever going to become, I know I'm not going to become a Prince Harry advocate at any point in my future, because I just cannot forgive him for what he has done. It is unforgivable. And I can never forgive Meghan Markle for what she's done. I mean, I pointed out to someone who was quite sort of trying to defend them the other day, and I clinically went through and I explained to them about the very early weeks of Harry actually courting Meghan, and how all these articles were popping up, with Lainey Gossip and in Us Weekly. And there was always these sort of little digs mainly at Catherine. Just sort of this implication that she was standoffish, or that first article where she said that Catherine didn't give her a ride to the shops, that was printed by Lainey Gossip. So there was all these leaks and this nastiness and this undercurrent happening within 4 to 6 weeks of their courtship actually being announced to the world. So, it was very much a campaign. Also, of course, we can't get over the fact that back in the Tig days in 2014, she was having a go then at Catherine, implying that she was a rather dull princess and that she was the She-Ra princess. So I was sort of clinically going through and showing all this. And then this sort of, from the other side, the Harry and Meghan side, this perception that they were shoved out by these bullying palace people and they had to flee to Canada for their own sanity and all that sort of thing, and then later on to the USA. Well, I completely debunked that, because we know that very soon after the wedding, they were already planning their exit. So after the beautiful wedding where everyone was cheering them and everyone was saying how wonderful they were and showing all their support, in the throes of that, they were already planning their exit. And we know that because we can trace it via business registrations. They were already registering post-royal businesses within a month of their wedding. So the narrative doesn't fit, and there's all these things you can bring facts and references and proof to the fact that the story that they're spinning is rubbish. And the person that I sent all this to appreciated it and said, well, that's a very good analysis. So I would prefer to fight the good fight, bring the proof, bring the evidence, and back up what I'm saying, and try to turn it around rather than attack the man. In footy, you've got to attack the ball, not attack the man. So I think that's how you sort of change things. I think you have to open up conversation, talk, discuss your different ideas. When you disagree, say, no, sorry, you've lost me there. And then say why, and produce the evidence. I think that makes it interesting, don't you? I think it really invigorates me. It makes me excited to go forward. It really, really does. Mind you, I don't think he's ever coming on this show again. There's no indication of that, so you don't have to worry. Because he did me a favour coming on in the first place. I'm a rather small channel, everybody. I was amazed that I could even get him in the first place. Okay. Now, what have we got here? I'm going to ignore the all caps comments because I have a feeling that they're not going to be very nice. If there's a valid disagreement, I will, of course, feature it. But just yelling at me, nah. I enjoy your channel because I enjoy you. You're a voice of reason with interesting content to talk about. Now, I didn't mean to put up another compliment, yet another compliment. So what do you think? Do you think that the tide has turned? I think the tide has very much turned now. Like I said, I could look at it and feel absolutely no emotion. I felt he looked silly, irrelevant. He looked like he had no power. I think that the next day, there's going to be, they're going to attempt the feel good, community visits and all that sort of thing. But the trouble with it is he makes it all about him. And he made it all about him with this comment when he actually spoke to someone at the Well Child Awards. You've probably heard this, but I think it's worth really highlighting. Harry quipped with a smile, he asked a person, does your brother drive you mad? And I've got something to say about this in a sec. And then he goes, you know what, siblings. And then the 17-year-old from Surrey said that his brother and he actually got on rather well and they went to the same school. And then Harry remarked, you're at the same school? That sometimes makes it more challenging. And I thought, you absolute doofus. What an idiot. what he's trying to do is point to the, what he spun in spare about William ignoring him at Eton. He's trying to point to the fact that, oh, well, all brothers disagree. That sort of minimizing is not going to work, because that's rewriting history. You can't rewrite history. You can't minimize. You can't put this down to just a brotherly spat. That's not what it all is at all. You have been attacking your brother and his family for the last 5 years. Brutal, wicked attacks. You've also not stood up against the Sussex Squad, who have said horrendous things about Catherine, particularly when she announced that she was undergoing cancer treatment. Absolutely horrendous. Said absolutely horrendous things about your brother, Harry, and you said nothing. And you said yourself that silence is complicity. So there's no consistency there at all. He just walked right into that one. The other thing he walked into, which I found astonishing, was he made the well child speech all about himself, yet again. And this is the quote. I won't say the whole thing because he went on and on and on and on and droned. But this is a little quote, just one sentence. So much has happened since those early days for me, for you, and for Wellchild. The world has thrown a fair few challenges our way. No, Harry, you shouldn't have been in there. The sentence should have been, so much has happened since the early days for you and for everyone at Wellchild. The world certainly has thrown many challenges your way. He should not have mentioned himself. He cannot resist delivering the victim narrative. And that is his downfall every time. And all I can hear, just to wrap it up, is I can hear Prince Philip's voice when he said, and he gave the advice to Catherine, he gave the advice to every new member of the royal family, including Diana, when she first joined. He said, never make it about you. It's not about you. It's about who you're visiting. It's about the work that they do. You are there to shine the spotlight. You are not meant to be in the spotlight. Now, in Catherine's case, she just can't help it because she's just so gorgeous. And in William's case, he can't help it either. But I did notice they went out of their way to throw the focus on the Women's Institute, and like I said, to stand at the back of the photograph and make sure that it was all about the women there and the work that they do and all that they achieve. So on that note, I'm very heartened about the future of the monarchy. I think it is in very, very good hands. I'm very keen to celebrate that. And I'm also very keen to call out the opposite of that whenever it's appropriate to do so. So thanks a lot for joining me. I am interviewing Andrew Loney later on today, and we're going to really dig down into the financial shenanigans of Andrew and Sarah. I'm not so much interested in the whole sex thing. I think that's been done to death. I want to bring to you the financial facts from the book, because I think you'll be genuinely shocked. And I think you'll think, like I do, that if they weren't royal, criminal proceedings would have already happened. And that's what I'm going to put to Andrew Loney in the interview tonight. And that will be up hopefully, either tomorrow or Thursday. Not quite sure how long it'll take me to edit it. So thanks for joining me. Love you all very, very much. And I appreciate you too. And I think we've got a wonderful channel, a really wonderful channel. And all these ring-ins and that, don't let them faze you. Don't let them upset you. They've been attacking me ever since I got my silver button, actually. I spoke to, way before Tom Sykes, I spoke to the YouTube manager that they assign you when you get above 100,000 subs. And they said, look, most people take their play button down because it's relentless and it happens to everyone. And I thought, well, I'm not going to take it down then. Because if you want to get me going, try to push me around, then see what I'm made of. Anyway, love you all. None of you are any of that. And we shall keep going and support each other, won't we? Love you all. Bye. Awkward click out now. Awkward click out. See you again soon. Bye. Bye.